Hello, music lovers. Welcome to the Woodshed. A very sad episode. Unfortunately, we lost an icon, a titan of country music, Joe Diffie. Joe was one of my biggest heroes. He had some amazing albums and amazing songs, and there's always the best playing on his records, man. There's guys like Brent Mason, Paul Franklin, Rob Jacobs. You know, there's always my favorite players, my favorite 90s country players. And Joe's music taught me how to play. I learned how to telly and chicken pick from wearing out those records. I'm gonna just gloss over some loose ideas in Joe's music, but this isn't going to be an in-depth analysis of how to play a certain Joe Diffie solo. It's not going to be that thing. This is just an episode where you can get exposed to some of those sounds if you've not heard them before, if you've not heard any of his music, and hopefully it'll spark some interest to go check out his albums and check out what he did and some of the great playing on it. Like I said, I learned to play telly stuff by wearing out these albums, and it was very, very influential, and it infiltrated my music. I mean, you'll hear all of these like Diffie-isms in songs like Smoke Wagon, Shredneck, Junktown, things like that. Anytime you hear me do any double stop playing, that is a direct lift from a Diffie record at some point. So I hope you enjoy it. Please go check out Joe's music. You know, you can find it all over Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. Be safe out there and be healthy. Hope you dig the episode. Cheers. So I didn't get to hang out with Joe too many times. I got to hang out with him 4 or 5 times in my life. One of which was the Opry. I was standing side stage. A good buddy of mine worked for him for, I think 11 or 12 years. And he was his manager, and we were hanging out, and Joe come over, and I got really nervous. And he just cut some kind of side joke about something going on stage. And I'll never forget just how cool he was. We ended up talking for 20, 30 minutes. Another time we were doing a festival. I was with Low Cash at the time. We were doing a festival. And the boys had said, the Low Cash guys had said something about, you know, Joe might get on stage or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, it'd be great. You know, and we have monitors that on stage mic that only we can hear, in-ears and stuff. Kind of like a silent mic so we could talk to each other, not the audience listening. And Joe came on stage, and he kind of looked at me, and one of the bass players, and I said, Wood, do you know, which Diffie songs do you know? And I just got him talking back, and I was like, I know all of them, you know. And he looked around at me, and Joe said, Pickup Man, and kicked it off, and it was awesome. So having an opportunity to play one of his songs with him, especially Pickup Man, you know, really iconic tune. It was a really, really cool moment for me. I grew up with Joe's music. I bought those records because Brent was playing on them. I remember trying to learn those riffs, and none of it made any sense. Like, I was a mandolin player, and I was trying to figure out that sound of those pops things like in you know, John Deere Green. A lot of those riffs, they didn't, like on mandolin, something like that would be, you wouldn't have any vibrato, you wouldn't have any bends, you wouldn't have that staccato-y pop thing. Just dwelling on those records, those you know, Diffie records, Alan Jackson records, Brooks and Dunn, stuff like that. Another great moment, I think I was still with Low Cash. I can't remember if it was Low Cash or Flats, but we were doing the Opry, and as soon as we got off the stage, I forget which song we were doing. I don't even remember the song, but I came off stage, and Joe just leaned in my ear. He was on the gig too, and he just goes, man, you can play the hell out of that guitar. So let's dig in. A lot of Joe's music was in the key of G, and songs like John Deere Green, Pickup Man, Hurt Me All the Time, they all had, you know, really slick, cool riffs at the top of the songs, the songs were in major keys, but they had that like minor pentatonic thing on top of a major key. So let's talk about that real quick. And it's not minor pentatonic like rock minor. You know, it's like what I think of when I think of like redneck minor or redneck pentatonic. Let me just show you that shape real quick. You're starting on the root, on the high G, and I want to show you what's happening through there. You have root flat 7 on the E string, and then 5, and then 4 on the B. And you have this kind of thing, right? So what happens is in certain licks that Brent would do on those records, he would do things like, and build those double stops. Let me just show you that real quick. So one of the things I like to do with those double stops is like either put my pinky down on the root or put my first finger down. This is quintessential to the intro of Pickup Man, is the that kind of sound. And if you put it in triplets, you know, it's, but if you put it straight, you can just play in eighth notes. You can swing it or play it straight or whatever. And I use that stuff all the time in a song like Shredneck, where I have something like that. In a song like Shredneck, I could possibly tag the head of the tune with a lick that's very inspired by some of that Joe Diffie stuff. So here's the melody of Shredneck. Now, instead of playing the lick that's on the record, let's do one that's inspired by Diffie. Right? So you can see how I'm using those Pickup Man shapes. Again, here's the Pickup Man shapes. Or and I'm using double stops, or you can do a single note. So let's walk that shape down. That's root 7, 5, 4, minor third, and there was always those kind of like little bends and stuff that would happen, right? And then 7, 5, and then the A string's really interesting because Brent would do things like play his flat 5 here, right? So that's one of the quintessential things that happened on those Diffie records. So that intro to Pickup Man has the triplets that walk down in that same shape, right? Play the flat 5 here. So you get, and then you can play the minor third to major third thing that we've talked about in other episodes. And then 5 on the open. G, right? So now you've got a whole arsenal of notes and sounds right in this one area. That's just pentatonic. Let's add in the chromatic passing tones. Right? So that's a flat 5 there. Double stop it. Or flat 5 on the A string, right? You're going open D, flat 5 on the A string, 4, minor third, major third, 5, root. So that's that Pickup Man kind of area. All right, so another thing that's in the Joe Diffie records that I always really love was Brent's really crazy fast triplets. In the solo to Hurt Me All the Time, he's playing over a 5 chord in the key of G. Again, so when it comes to the 5 chord, Brent plays through the changes. And he does this really cool. I'm just going to give you the triplet lick that's in the middle of it. It's this. In the key of G, we're going to play over the D chord, and that's where the lick falls. And it's this. So at that crazy tempo that's at, Again, Brent played fingerstyle, and I used my flat pick. I actually cross pick those, if you would call it cross picking, right? So let's take a look at the right hand. We slide in. That outlines kind of a D7 sound. And then we have so let's go over that one more time. Over the 5 chord in the key of G, the 5 chord is D. Brent outlines these triplets, and they're triad based, right? So he plays A, C, D, which is like a D7. And then he plays like a C chord. And then he plays a D again, but he's getting to it from F. So he's going F. So he's doing minor third to major third in the key of D. You see that? 3, 5, 1. And then he walks it back chromatic to build the 7. So if you just have the 5 chord, say you're playing a blues, and you come into your 5, that's how you could put that in. So it's in triplets. Remember, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, da-ga-da, triplet, right? Right? Or you could go up to the root. And then you can resolve to root, and you can use some of those licks from Pickup Man to do it. One more time. So again, on those triplets, you're playing over the 5 chord, and you outline the D7, then the C, which is like a flat 7 against D, or it's also the 4 chord in the key of G. Remember, if you're ever looking for this stuff, you're going, here's home base, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So we're going 5 chord, D, then a C chord, and then a D with a third, and then you get that cool 7th sound, and then you can end it with some Pickup Man-esque licks. So let's talk about some double stops that happen in some of Joe's music. One of the things that I always heard Brent do, would he would find double stops and walk from a root to a flat 7, root to flat 7, root to flat 7 down the neck of the guitar, right? So like on the intro of Hurt Me All the Time, he does this, right? You could take that idea and play it all the way down the neck. So let's start in the key of G, just like Brent does. Here's the double stops. That's root and third. Now we're going to play an F, which is the flat 7. And now we're going to play the root and the 5th again. Now the cool thing is this idea works all the way down the guitar. So if you were going to you can play, that's how I build a lot of my double stop licks, is that all of what I do is kind of anchored in that sound that I got from songs like Hurt Me All the Time. One of the things that I like to do to spice it up is put a little triplet into the top of it. So that's like just outlining the G triad, right? Starting on the 3rd. And then play the flat 7. So you're basically playing G, F, G, F, G, F, G, all the way down, right? So one of the last things I want to give you is the little double stop bends that you'd get at the top of like John Deere Green, right? That was a cool sound. And it's simple stuff that you're just outlining that minor pentatonic. All this stuff sits over G major. But he would play, Brent would play those kind of sounds, right? Where you're taking a double stop, you're bending it, just a little semitone, and then you resolve down. So it's like playing a C to a B flat, C to a B flat is what it looks like. But my brain's not saying C to B flat. My brain's just seeing minor pentatonic. Right? Right? So if we combine everything together that we talked about today, we got some cool stuff. You got these kind of open sounds down here. Remember the flat 5 right there. Right? And then we would blend. One more time. Right in the flat 5 right there. And then we talked about the triplets that Brent used over the 5 chord. Like if you're going to D in a blues and you're in the key of G. Right? And then we talked about the root to flat 7 thing. So that's just G, F, G, F, G, F, G, right? And that works in every key. So be sure if you're playing in D, like it's going to be D, C, D, C, D, C, all the way down, right? So it's whatever your root is, and then it's your flat 7, which is just a whole step behind it. And that's how I kind of build some of those double stop licks, right? And the very last thing was taking, double stops and bending them like a little semitone to get that kind of sound that happens in like John Deere Green. That's very much in that style of the John Deere Green thing. All right, so in closing, I don't want this episode to be a lesson, a how-to, I feel like that's kind of not what I'm trying to do here. I don't want to capitalize or come across like I'm trying to monetize off of somebody's passing. This dude was super, super influential to me. And I learned so much from his records. And his records taught me how to chicken pick and do the telly thing. And that led me down a great career as a musician. So I just want to say thank you. I hope that all of you who have not heard his music and your guitar players, you go out and dig his records up and just get blown away. I mean, that's one of my favorite eras of music that ever came out of Nashville. Luckily in life, my path crossed with my hero. I got to be on stage with him. I got to play one of his hit songs with him. And it was amazing. So please go out and listen to his music. And I hope you got some stuff, some small nuggets here to implement into your own playing. More importantly than me teaching it to you, you should go listen to the songs and learn it the way that I did. I learned a lot of things the wrong way, and then they helped me form my voice, and then I went back and learned them and realized that I had notes wrong or whatever as a kid, and I still have habits of playing things my way, like like the intro to Pickup Man. I play double stops on it, and I think on the record it's actually just single notes, but that's besides the point. The point is, thank you, Joe Diffie, for all of your music. Everything you gave us was amazing. You had a great career. I followed it. I'm fortunate enough to get to hang out with you a little bit while you were here, and your music's going to live on forever, dude. So thanks.